And so it just makes sense that appraisers need to be visible in the internet in a way that can attract clients to them. It's also the absolute best way to meet and develop relationships with attorneys.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Justin Harris.
Mr. Rob Bodkin, welcome back to the Appraiser Coach podcast, folks. Man, Rob, you've been on 4 times. This will be the 5th time on this wonderful show. It's so good to have you back. Thank you, friend.
Thanks for having me.
Rob, of course, is an appraiser out of the Seattle area. The name of your company is North Sound Evaluation. And Rob, you've been on talking about various aspects of your appraisal life. I think the first time you were on, back in episode 59, we talked about how happy you were to be a staff appraiser.
Yep.
You're no longer a staff appraiser, Rob?
No, not since 2016.
Okay, it's been a while. The second time you came on was episode 137, and you talked about how happy you were to not be a staff appraiser, but to be a fee appraiser. And you're still doing that, right? You're still a fee appraiser?
I'm just happy all the time.
This is good. I love it. And you came on, talked about being a business owner, episode 605, and then the latest episode was episode 789, letter to yourself. But Rob, I want to focus today on non-lender work because you've made a big shift in your appraisal business. I know this because Rob is a member of my mastermind group, has been for many years, also a good friend. But I wanted to have you on, Rob, because I think a lot of appraisers understand that they should be doing more on the private side. But honestly, it's a whole lot of damn work.
Maybe.
All right. So talk to us. You've made that shift. Talk to us a little bit about the shift that you've made over the last couple of years from mostly AMC work. I know you did a lot of direct work as well, direct lending work as well. But a lot of what you're doing now is private work.
Yeah. So to put it in context, at the start of 2022, when we first started, getting a new website and thinking about how to attract more non-lending work. And at that time, I was still thinking realtor, referrals and going and do lunch and learns and all of that really active work. That was at the beginning of 2022. And in the previous year, in 2021, I had done 3% private work, and it was all bycatch. It was all just accidental. And occasionally I might say, hey, I'm open to doing private work or whatever, but it was all that. And now, and I would have told you it was more than that because it felt like that because it was so unusual. Right.
Right.
But it wasn't. It was 3% of our total volume. And so far in 2025, it's 46% of my work. And
can we just say half, Rob? I mean, it's close.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. We're appraisers. It should be 46.
Right. Exactly. Let's round.
And the real blessing with that, of course, is that we're on track. It's me and a trainee and a couple support people, but we're on track to do 600 appraisals this year, which is back to our volume of 2021.
Wow.
So we've, effectively replaced all of that mortgage work that we were doing. And the good news is we got to keep most of our really great clients, U.S. Bank, local direct lenders. I'm on the VA panel. So we do a bit of AMC work, but it's not nearly, it's a small amount.
Yeah. So question for you, Rob, as you made that switch, I think a lot of listeners right now are to quote Napoleon Dynamite, are saying lucky, as if it just falls into your lap. And that obviously is not the case. So talk to us about what is the most productive way to get non-lending work? Because you talked about realtor. I mean, that's what everybody does, right? You go out and you speak to realtors and lunch and learns, as you mentioned, and this stuff just falls into your lap, right?
Yep. Yeah. That hasn't been my experience. I've done a number of lunch and learns. I actively send thank you notes and notes to the agents that I meet when I'm out in the field. So I actively market to them, but the hands down, the most productive way to get non-lending work in this day and age is to have a very well built Google business profile and website in that order, and then have reviews from clients, from people that you've done appraisals for, realtors that you interact with, your lending clients, your friends that you talked about appraisal with. As long as it's a real review that you didn't buy
Mhm.
from Bangladesh for $6 or something.
Oh, is that all it is these days?
If you don't, yeah, if you just want to waste your money. Um, but having a Google business page and website are the number one ways. And if you think about it, it used to be that Susan was your real estate gal. And so you bought your house from Susan, and then when you needed somebody to come work on the house, or you needed something real estate related, you'd call Susan. And so Susan was a great person to have a relationship with because
Mhm.
she would refer you work. Well, Google's been the Susan for 25 years or 20 years, however long Google's been around, right? And the number one place people go to look for someone to do work for them is on the internet, right? And so it just makes sense that appraisers need to be visible on the internet in a way that can attract clients to them. It's also the absolute best way to meet and develop relationships with attorneys.
Okay. So I think that most listeners, like myself, are going to be thinking, well, duh. I mean, obviously, that's where people go to find an appraiser. But, Rob, that's a whole lot of work. And it is. It's a whole lot of work. But what I didn't introduce earlier, and I want to introduce now, Rob, is you're not just an appraiser with North Sound Valuation, but you're also a partner with a company called Appraiser Marketing Group, or AMG for short. Tell us a little bit about what AMG is, and of course, what AMG does.
Sure. So I turned my business around from being mortgage dependent to being a really good mix of all of it because a friend of mine, Chip, was only doing non lending work. And I wanted to know how he did that.
Mhm.
And so he
Only
showed
100%, 100%.
100%. He hasn't done a mortgage deal in 20 years.
Yeah.
And so once I saw how he did it, I said, well, and he was bringing this idea to market to appraisers. And so I said, I'll be your guinea pig, and I wasn't the first. There was a couple other guys that he was doing it for. And so I just had him do this in my market. And effectively, what AMG does, what we do for other appraisers, is we'll build a marketing website in your town digitally, in
Mhm.
your town,
For sure.
and or an adjacent town where you want to do more work. You already have your I have an appraisal site for Mukilteo, so maybe we do one for Seattle, we do one for Everett, and we do that in our brand, and that drives non-lending leads to the appraisers. And the difference between you doing it and me doing it, or AMG doing it, is it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And most appraisers are busy. They're doing appraisals, or they're freaking out about UAD 3.6, or they're doing all sorts of other things, but focusing on building their website and their Google business page. And so we have a team that does that and gets those sites up quickly and gains authority very quickly and starts generating leads for appraisers, very, very quickly.
Okay, so I want to slow down and back up just a little bit because you said a whole lot there, I'm afraid some of it got missed
Yeah,
because there was so much in there. So let's break it down just a little bit. First of
sure.
all, you're not talking about helping appraisers build their particular brand directly. You said you're going to build it in your brand. Explain that.
Well, we do help some appraisers build their own brands out. We work on their websites directly. But generally speaking, we will have our brand, and that will generate web traffic to us. That's leads that we then, just pass on directly to the appraiser. That makes sense?
It does. I think so. Yeah. It makes sense to me because I know AMG. I've worked with AMG. As part of the mastermind, you've talked about AMG. So personally, I know it. I just want to make sure that if it's the first time the listener is hearing about this, that they understand,
Yeah.
because the questions that would come up in my mind if it was the first time I ever heard it, it's like, wait a second, you're going to set up your brand in my city? Wait, I don't
Yeah.
want that. I don't want the competition.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons we do it the way we do it is that we have an efficient system for setting it up,
Hmm.
and we're exclusive, so we don't generate leads and farm them out to 2 or 3 appraisers in a town. And our team, with Chip at the lead on the technical side, um, is really conscious of the rules for Google and the ins and outs of that.
Right.
And we like to think that we skate as close to the edge as we can and iterate around those rules while staying in bounds. But when we do that, we're not doing it on your website. So your website isn't at the risk of having Google say, oh, out of bounds, whatever. It's just simpler to do it in our own brand.
Right, because you talked about how it takes a lot of time to set up these Google business profiles, to keep on top of the SEO, to make sure that you're on the top. But what's not being said here, Rob, is it's not just time. It's intelligence, it's understanding, it's information that a lot of appraisers, let's just face it, we're busy appraising the multi-million-dollar house up on the hill. We're not busy worried about how Google works and why it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Any appraiser could probably do what we do for their own website. And we encourage our clients to do that. We can just do it much quicker, and we won't waste time on things that some SEOs will sell you that are just a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing about AMG, the thing that turned me on about AMG was that I had a website built, and there was all sorts of metrics that it was producing and all these kind of vanity, oh, you have this many visitors and this many impressions and this many whatevers, right? But my phone wasn't ringing, right? And so with AMG, we make the appraiser's phone ring, and that's what they want.
Love it. I want to pause here for just a second and remind the listeners of a couple of different sponsors, of course, to this program. One is a brand new sponsor that we've talked about a couple of times here, and that is True Home Tracker. If you are looking for a way to not just manage your orders from start to finish, but also to manage your business, you need to check out True Home Tracker. Folks, you can find it on my website, and there's all kinds of videos showing you exactly how it works, how you can know your numbers, how you can truly become a business owner. Finally, software out there for appraisers. It's True Home Tracker. Go to my website, TheAppraiserCoach.com, click on products and scroll to the bottom. Again, it's True Home Tracker. Folks, if you want to stay up on the latest news and information when it comes to appraising, Working RE is the place to go. And by the way, it is free. It's free to visit. It's free to sign up for their newsletter. A couple of times a week, folks, I get an email from Working RE. Sometimes I'm not the least bit interested in what they send. Guess what? Archive. But a lot of times there's some really, really great stuff there. And I'm glad it's coming to my email for free. It's workingre.com. And you can put your email in there and make sure that you're staying up to date on the appraisal industry. Again, workingre.com. And finally, folks, we are sponsored today by TrueTracks. TrueTracks, of course, will allow you to be able to support your adjustments, your time adjustments, your acreage adjustments, your GLA adjustments. Folks, how would you like to have a bulletproof, solid work file for everything that you do inside your appraisal? TrueTracks is the thing that you need to be using. If it's in your area, which it's in 95% of MLS areas now, check them out. By the way, if you use the coupon code COACH, you will get 4 extra weeks. That's 2 weeks free plus another 4 extra weeks. So 6 weeks that you can try it for free when you use the coupon code COACH at truefootage.tech/tools for TrueTracks. Welcome back to the program, Mr. Rob Bodkin. So good to have you here. We're talking a little bit about AMG, but more important, we're talking about the importance of doing non-lender work. You've made a big shift in your business lately. You said now 46% of your work is non-lender. I think a lot of appraisers would be like, yeah, I'll take that.
Mhm.
And a lot of that's done through Google. Talk to us about why the realtor. You talked about was it Sally,
Susan,
Susan?
right, right.
Google's now your Susan. Now we Susan things instead of Google things, right? In other words, when people are looking for appraisal work, it only makes what's their divorce? It's an estate work. They just curious. They want to know the value of their home. What do we all do when we want a plumber? We go to Google.
Yep.
When you want somebody to appraise your home, you're going to go to Google. And AMG is the company that you're partnered with. Remind people a little bit more about how that works because it's a little bit different than most quote unquote SEO companies.
Yeah, most SEO companies will either sell you Google ads,
Mm-hmm.
which can be effective, but they're expensive,
Sure.
or they will focus on. I was trying to think of something that would be a good corollary. Um, we have all these landing pages for different cities around our region. That was at one time thought to be the way to attract more attention from Google, and that
Right.
turned out to be
Divorce appraisal in Firth, Idaho. Divorce appraisal in
exactly right.
Shelley,
Yeah,
Idaho. Right.
7 of these landing pages for different regions in Idaho or something. Um, but the problem with stuff like that is that you might do something to your website that Google likes today, but it's less of a thing in a month. But you're the appraiser and you don't know that, and you don't know that Google is now looking at this, or you don't know that more people are going to Perplexity or to Chat and saying who's the best appraiser in Mukilteo, Washington, right? And so you have to stay on top of all that stuff, and AMG stays on top of all that
Okay,
stuff.
so slow down just a little bit. You just talked about AI, which I think is a little different aspect because
Mhm.
I personally, as you know, Rob, I spend hours a day in AI. I don't remember the last time I Googled something. And
Right.
so, what can AMG do for me when it comes to someone who's using ChatGPT to find their local appraiser?
Yeah, so some of this is more Chip's specialty, the
Sure,
technical side of it.
sure.
What I know is that we don't just build a Google business page and a website. We also post content on all the socials on, LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Snapchat. Okay, I'm a boomer, so or not a boomer, but I'm old, so there's a list of them, and so we post the content on all those places. So all these kind of weave an awareness out in the web of your website that just having a Google business page or just having a website doesn't do.
Hmm.
Adding that content is super, super important, and the reviews super, super important. Did that answer it?
It did. It did. As we close up, Rob, I'm curious. As a listener, I'm sitting back. I'm thinking, okay, I'm tired of doing AMC work. I want to do more private work. I don't have the time or the knowledge to do more non-lender work. And the interest rates just dropped, so I'm sure I'll get busy again, right? Uh, what are three things that a listener can do today, Rob, that would significantly move the needle away from the lending work?
Sure. Hope is not a plan. So yeah, they did tick down the Fed rate, but then mortgage rates went up just a tick. So
Hmm.
those two aren't directly correlated.
Sure.
Something people could do today without even calling us. So calling us would be a good idea. But an appraiser should make sure that their Google business page is up, fully filled in, all their information, their hours, photos, reviews, everything up on that. Same thing with your website. Doing that will put you on the road to authority in your local market. Um, Once you've done that, post content there,
Hmm.
post a video, take a picture the next time you see an interesting house. Do it on a purchase, so you're not posting a picture of someone's
Right.
house. It's a vacant house or whatever. Take a picture in an interesting picture in the town where you're appraising. Post that. just post content and do that there. Do it on LinkedIn. Make sure that those things are linked. You can link your Google business page to your socials. Make sure that link is done. And then the last thing that I would say people can do is join a professional organization. I know that kind of comes out of left field, but the number one human referral source that I have is commercial appraisers who are in the Appraisal Institute. So commercial appraisers, generally speaking, don't appraise houses. And I don't appraise 7-Elevens, right? So have referral partners who are naturally going to get these types of jobs that they can then pass on to you, and you can then pass on to them. We trade referrals. There's no cost to it or whatever, but you can charge for a referral. You can get paid to give a referral, and you just have to disclose it. They have to disclose it in their report. So those are the first three things that I would definitely do.
Next time I have a commercial appraiser on, I'm going to ask him what the number one comp for a 7-Eleven is. I'm thinking it might be a Circle K.
Or a Hardee's or something. I don't know.
Rob Bodkin, thank you. How do people get a hold of you? And more importantly, how do they get a hold of AMG?
Well, you can find AMG at appraisermarketinggroup.com. It's all one word. It's fully spelled out. Don't accept the substitution. When you Google Appraiser Marketing Group, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's the best way to get a hold of us. And you can book a discovery call with Chip and I, and he can answer all the technical questions that I couldn't. And, I liked it so much that I joined the company is the bottom line on our process.
And as a member of my mastermind for many years, I know many individuals in the mastermind have used AMG with great success. So I highly recommend that people check it out. If you're interested in shifting more toward the non-lender side of the valuation profession, and you don't have the time or the expertise to really get into it and move the needle so that you're now doing 46% rather than 3%, on the non-lender side. Rob Bodkin, once again, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for coming, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit TheAppraiserCoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.